Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the program. Man, am I excited about this interview coming up. A very familiar name, the trip down memory lane, somebody that you will definitely recognize from the past. And it's very interesting what she's doing in the future. World Golf Hall of Famer Lynn Stephenson is our guest. Now, Jan dabbles in many different business things, but you, of course, know her for her golf, her fashion, but there are other elements to her life: wine, spirits, dancing, rock and roll. Did you know all that? I don't think I knew it until I took a deeper dive in. Been trying to get her on the program for a long time, and she is our guest, World Golf Hall of Famer Lynn Stephenson. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drinks. If you're in the mood for a drink other than a beer on the golf course or whatever else it is you're indulging in, try a Party. Jan loves Party, by the way. And if you're in the golf business, Party is not being sold at your golf course right now. Contact Paradise Craft Distributors. It is the exclusive distributor of Party around the state of Florida. And if your dream is to live in a golf resort community like Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from, nobody better to help you out with that than the golf real estate pros, Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh, suncoastdreams.com, the division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. One other thing, please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done it already, and like the podcast. That helps us with the bean counters. That's all part of the program. And if you've done it already, I appreciate it. If you haven't, please do it and share the podcast with a friend. 14,000 subscribers, 330,000 views. And that's just on YouTube. That doesn't include Spotify and Apple. So really appreciate the support on that. All right. So let's bring the star of the show on here right now, Lynn Stephenson. Jan, I'm so happy to talk to you. Tell me, where are you joining us from? It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm in Newport Richey, where I live, and it's very cold, which is not normal, as you know. But I love living in Florida, though.
Yeah, Florida is great. It certainly doesn't feel like Florida weather. The last 2 days, I caddied in 40-degree temperatures with rain and wind. So I felt like I was back in the Northeast where I grew up. I want the old Florida weather to come back and get back here quickly. I think you feel the same way. Hey, let's just go right there. Get it out of the way. I think the last public news that we heard about you had the cancer scare and you had to deal with it. What happened and how are you doing?
Well, actually, I was diagnosed with breast cancer 3 years ago, and then felt like I'd gotten a clear. And went to Australia, felt great. And then I was playing in March in a celebrity event up in Atlantic City, and I went to sign a golf ball for a fan, and I couldn't write my name. And I thought, oh, no, I'm having a stroke. And I called my manager and said, I can't sign my name. And I went to the range, and I couldn't hit the ball very far. And he said, I think you're having a stroke. Try to get to Philadelphia and get back to Tampa, and I'll take you to the emergency. So I got an Uber and got to Philly and came home, went straight to the hospital, and they had all these tests. They said, no, you're not having a stroke. There's nothing wrong with your heart or your lungs and all of that. So they took me in for an MRI, and they came back and said, you have 18 tumors in your brain. And I was like in shock because I didn't feel that bad. And so then I had to go through all of that, but I just did a new test. They have a DNA test. So I took chemo, and then I did the radiation, and now I just take a chemo pill, and I take a whole bunch of different kinds of supplements. I go to 2 natural doctors as well as my normal oncologist. And I just got back another clear So let's hope this is it.
Oh my God. That's scary to hear, but that's great to hear. So, I mean, is it fair to say you're a walking, living miracle, all things considered?
That's what they keep saying. I'm just so glad that I can still get out there and hit balls. I've lost a lot of power, which disappoints me, but I've just started back at hitting the gym now that I've gotten a clear prognosis. So I'm ready to go again.
How much golf are you playing, and how is your golf?
Well, my golf, I don't play a lot of golf. I practice every day, except this weather. This is probably the longest I've gone. I've gone like 4 days without hitting balls because I love to practice. I love the technique, the studying the new techniques. I'm like a golf junkie when it comes to watching technique. And I played in an event on Sunday, and it was at Palmacia in Tampa, which was where the LPGA started, the birthplace of the LPGA. And it was a past player, a present player from the LPGA, and a future. So I played with a young girl that's at UCF, and we had a great time. And I was so impressed with their golf game. I was pretty excited, except that I was hitting it so short, I was embarrassed.
Well, what's short for you?
Well, I bet I only hit it 200 yards anymore. And I used to hit it. I used to, be pretty long for my size, and these girls can just bomb it.
Do you like that? Do you like the modern game and just the awesome power? We see it in the women. The men is just off the charts. When you see it, is that good for the game? Do you like it, or is there something about? Does it bother you?
No, I love it. I just some of the technique I'm not crazy about. I feel like they're going to have injuries as they get older on their back. There's a lot of talk on their back with this new stuff, but some of the technique I like and some I don't. But I think it's fantastic that they can hit it that far. I'm just insanely jealous that I can't.
I'm right with you on that one. I am actually shorter with modern technology than I was when I was in my prime. And I'm going to blame that on injuries and just the aging process. It's like my best days are clearly behind me, and I'm struggling with that. Do you struggle with that too?
Big time. That's probably the worst part. Is like I was getting. I take lessons from Gavin Coles, who plays on the. I used to play on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour, and now he teaches in Orlando. And I was calling him at all hours of the night because I knew I was going to have to play with these young juniors. And I was like, "There's got to be a way for me to hit it further." And he's like, "We can't. You can't do it right now. We're in the middle of changing your golf swing." Because he's convinced me that if I can get better technique, I will still hit it a lot further than I do now. So that's what I'm after.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Where does your golf journey begin? I know it begins in Australia, but how old were you and how'd you get your start?
Well, I was playing tennis at the time. I was 8 years old, and my father was he was actually a professional cricket player. And so he would drop me off to play tennis, and he started playing this new game called golf. And I was like, no, wait a minute, why are you playing something that must be more fun? So I used to sneak off and watch them. And somebody told him one day that, your daughter's got a really good golf swing. And he said, you mean she's got a good tennis swing? And they went, no. She sells golf balls. When you're playing golf, she's out selling golf balls and she's not playing tennis. So I got caught. And he goes, you can't.
Hold on a minute, Jan, stop there. So were you hawking golf balls? Were you fishing for them out of ponds and in the woods, and then you had a little cottage industry going on there?
Well, what happened was I had a side business, and my younger brother, who I was actually supposed to be taking care of, he's 2 years younger. He was catching the snakes because in the up at those days there was a lot of bush, and we were about 2 hours north of Sydney at the time. We had a weekender where we'd go on the weekends, and so my brother would sell the snakes to the reptile park for money because they needed the venom. And I would be selling golf balls to the people that were playing golf. So we were pretty flush with money for an 8 and 10 and 9-year-old.
Okay, well, hold on a minute. The snakes. So your brother's catching snakes so they could get the venom for an anti-venom in case somebody's bitten. But how did he get them safely? And he's 8 years old and he's rustling snakes?
Yep. And we used to, and in those days they had like a trailer at the end of all of our streets because we were on dirt streets. This was a very small neighborhood right by the golf course. And the snakes were, very deadly and everywhere. And we would sell them to the reptile park and get pretty good money. I'm petrified of snakes. And when he was a firefighter later on in life, and he was the snake catcher still. He can catch poisonous snakes. He's amazing.
I wouldn't try that myself. No, I had. Boy, that's he's got guts, or maybe he was a little right, but it makes for a great story. So I'm glad you shared that. So back to the golf part. So Dad's starting to play golf. You're kind of watching him do it, and then you started doing. You got good quickly, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I loved it. I loved that he had decided I was going to be a professional athlete no matter what happened. And so he wanted me to play something that made a lot of money. That's why he wanted me to do tennis. And when I said I wanted to be a golfer, he said, okay, I'm going to get you lessons and we're going to get you golf clubs and we'll do junior golf in the mornings. But you can't keep changing sports because I had gone from swimming to tennis and now golf when I was only 9. He said, you have to stick with one sport. And that was where my brother made the mistake because he went on and played cricket and football and and basketball. And he said, you can only do one sport. And I said, no, golf is it. Golf is what I'm going to do. And so he got me lessons and I loved it. And I had to play against the boys because I could beat the girls too easily.
How was that? Was that helpful playing with the boys? Maybe better competition? And I imagine at some point you started beating them and that didn't sit well with them?
No, well, they were okay with it. They would treat me like I was one of the boys, which was fine because I was still pretty young at the time. But my father was captain at the golf club by then, and he put and because him and my mother wanted to play golf in the afternoon, then have a few drinks and stay for dinner at the club, that he put up spotlights on the putting green so I could putt. And so I got to be a really good putter playing for my dinner money that they would give us for us to eat dinner, and my brother and I. And he would bank me too. So we'd play skins money on putting, and I got to be really good. And I had to do it because it was my money and my brother's money, and we wouldn't eat if I didn't win.
Wow, that's fighting for your lunch, fighting for your dinner there. That's that the pressure of that probably helped you when the pressure of playing pro golf. When did you really start getting good though? Like, how about like some breaking 80 for the first time, breaking 70?
Well, my father when I was 12, because we had this beach at this house that was north of Sydney, and I loved surfing so I started board riding in the afternoons because I was too young to play in the seniors. We used to have senior competitions, but I could only play in the junior ones. And so my brother and I would go to the beach while my parents played golf. And I got where I really wanted to surf, and I was borrowing everybody's surfboard when they take a break. So I went to my father and said, I want to be a professional surfboard rider now. And he goes, no, wait a minute, you weren't going to change sports. And I said, but instead of him banning me like he did with the tennis and the golf, he said, I'll make you a deal. If you break your handicap to scratch before your birthday, which I was turning 13, he said, I'll buy you a surfboard for your birthday, for Christmas, because my birthday was 3 days before Christmas. And so I worked so hard all winter because the winter was our golf season, so that I could have a surfboard for the summer. And I practiced so hard. I started winning everything, the state championship, all the state titles, junior titles. And by the time it was my birthday, I actually broke my handicap on my birthday. And my parents were like, oh no, now they're going to have to buy me a surfboard. And my dad came and said, well, that was the deal. If you broke your handicap before your birthday, you could get a surfboard instead of. And I went, no, I don't want a surfboard. I need a sand wedge. I can't get out of the sand with just a pitching wedge. So it turned out later they said they actually broke open a bottle of champagne because they knew they avoided the old surfboard thing.
Well, I just think it's cool that you surf. I surf too. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world. It's so physical. It's more swimming than it is riding the wave and just being immersed in that. I didn't know that. I mean, just lots of levels to Jan that I didn't know about. I want to get to some of the stuff that people do know about. Golf balls in the bathtub, the photo. How often are you asked about that?
Oh, I still get fan mail on it to sign them, every week, which is pretty cool. Well, it started actually when I did the poster. I did a poster first for TaylorMade, and then Dunlop bought their contract from so that they could have my own line of Lynn Stephenson golf equipment, and they said we've got this one golf ball that we're going to get rid of in the factory, and then we're going to start this new golf ball. And we would like to do a calendar with this golf ball so that we can get rid of all of these golf balls in the warehouse and start with this new ball we're going to start. And I said, okay. So they came with this. They hired a very famous a photographer in LA. He did all of Michael Jackson's and usually all the albums he did. And he's very, very good and very talented. And he had designed, each month with a different picture. And I wasn't even thinking at the time. I just, they quickly sent me sketches of what that was going to look like. And there was one with golf balls. I didn't think anything of it. But what happened was it got to be, when we did it, it became so popular that they had to start remaking the golf ball because they sold it with a dozen golf balls in a calendar. And it turned out they actually had to make another 250,000 golf ball boxes to go with the calendar because the calendar was selling out with these golf balls. So it was pretty funny that they actually had to start making that golf ball again.
Well, you were ahead of your time with fashion. I know fashion's very important to you, and I think back to when Ty Votah was commissioner of the LPGA Tour, and he did extensive marketing, and the findings of that were the golf is not enough. That the women need to dress better, do their makeup better. So he brought in a bunch of consultants. I know some of the gals loved it, and some didn't like it. What were your thoughts on that pivotal moment?
Well, I had started right from the very beginning with our commissioner, Ray Volpe, when he came from the NHL, and he said, we have got to sell with sex appeal. That's our only, you can't hit as far as the men, and there's so many cute girls out there. We've got to really focus on that to get new sponsors. And so because I had come from Australia and I had won a tournament quickly right off the bat, so it was Rookie of the Year. So he came to me and said, I would like you to be the new face of the LPGA, and we're going to, use you in all kinds of photos and have you wine and dine potential sponsors, and we're going to turn the LPGA around, which he did. And so I learned from that time on how important it was to do the sex appeal part. And like he kept saying, hey, that's the reason that Freddie's so popular and Tiger is so popular. They've got it all, and you have to have it all to really make it. And we need that with the LPGA. And so I get disappointed when the players don't want to support that. I mean, there's no question that someone like me, I love golf and I wouldn't do anything to hurt it, especially the LPGA. But you do have to do whatever it takes to make it. And the PGA is a powerful machine. And if we've got to, if I was a commissioner with Nellie, I'd be pushing her to do everything like that we did back then.
Well, I look at it this way: look good, play good, and if you look good and you got it, why not? And just about everybody looks at it. There are very few people that look bad anymore because they're so fashion conscious on both tours, and I think it makes for a better product. Nancy Lopez, is she a good friend of yours, Nancy?
Yeah. Nancy, and we were more rivals when we were playing in the 70s and 80s, but after we started the senior tour, we became really good friends, which happened with a lot of the players. They realized what I did and why we were doing it, and now that we've gotten to know them. I mean, Nancy's always been pretty classy anyway, but she's definitely a good friend now.
She, I met her one time, and she kind of made me feel like Arnold Palmer did the one time I met him. It just seemed like we were long friends. She was so nice, and that's who she is.
Yeah, that's the way Nancy is. I mean, she is very gracious. She's always, if you win, she's always been very gracious. I mean, it was easy. I kept saying, well, it's always easy for her to be gracious. She always was winning. Mm-hmm. But then as it turned out, it's not really the case. She is just a lovely person. And I remember because her and I were playing, we were in Japan, and they came with so much stuff for us to autograph. And I was kind of getting like scribbly with my name. And she goes, remember what Arnold said? It's important. Every one of these is important for them. And you have to be able to read your name. So she said, you're better off to just write Jan if you can't write the whole thing correct. And her Nancy Lopez's signature to this day is still beautiful, just like Arnold's was.
Absolutely. Jan Stephenson is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, World Golf Hall of Famer, winner of multiple 41 worldwide wins, 16 LPGA Tour victories, including 8 majors. Big thanks to Party Drinks, title sponsor. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. And a big thanks to the Golf Real Estate Pros at suncoastdreams.com and Division of Fine Properties, Vince Vizicaro and Gene Walsh. They got you taken care of. Jan, you're a fan of Party. Tell me about it.
I am. I love the name. Of course, it's got a little golf theme. So I usually bring them to a lot of parties and people go, oh, I've never seen this before. And, it's funny because Paradise sells, I think, more to the marinas than they do to golf, which doesn't make sense because they all should be in everybody's golf cart or the beverage cart. Because, I've got the one I like is the Fade. It's I think it's called Fade Away, and it's a vodka with lemonade, and it's so
Faderade. That's it.
Yeah,
there you go.
There's so many good flavors. I know we do a lot with the Bloody Mary and the orange juice and vodka in the morning in the marinas because people want something on the way out to fish. But, I just think that it's great because they're nice and you can have them chilled and you can drink it while you don't have to like gulp it all the way down, and they are actually taste really good. And I think for the price, it's crazy that people don't get to have them all.
Well, you're a lover of finer things in life, fine wines, fine spirits. That's a big part of your business acumen and everything. Where does that come from, and where is it now with wine and spirits?
Well, I started the wine a long time ago because one of the people I played with in Australia was a famous winemaker, and so he wanted his kids to come to school over in America. So I bought a small winery in California, and he ran it and produced fabulous wine. I did really well with it. But once we got to COVID and I couldn't go out and do wine tastings and clinics at country clubs, we were losing money because we couldn't, COVID, nobody was going out to any kind of event socially. So I sold the winery. And in the meantime, a company was building a new distillery in Utah and had read about how I believe in pure water and had my own winery and knew how to sell. They contacted me and said, would you like to do your own line of spirits? And I hung up and said, no, the wine is way too much work. And they kept bugging me and said, we're building a new, we've got this place where we've got water from the aquifer and it's really good water coming down from Park City, and we need someone with the name on it, and they've pulled out and we need someone to help us get started. So I flew up there and I made the mistake of flying up there and meeting them, and I got hooked and I invested in the distillery. So I now have my own line. I said, only way I'm going to do it is if I can have real fruit in it. I don't want to be able, if I've got water that's pure, you can't use artificial flavors. And so they went, okay. So we had to maturate the fruit. So I picked mango, pineapple, and passion fruit.
That's cool. Hey, can I ask you, when you play golf, do you ever indulge in a beverage?
No, never.
No.
Why not? It's because I think it's just because my whole life, it's work. Mm-hmm. It was work. And I would never even consider drinking when I played golf.
I'm kind of the same way. I know it's changed. I mean, there's music on the golf course. People have a party on the golf course or some other. It's just part of it. And if that's part of their fun, I think golf's hard enough as it is. I'm not going to make it any hard. I mean, that's why I don't do it. I wait till later.
It's the trouble with it is you'd have to be able to control. I mean, they do say that, I have read the results of it, that there's a happy medium. If you can get to that stage where it takes off the edge and it takes off the mental nervousness, that it's actually good. But you've got to continue like that. You can't keep drinking, otherwise you lose that, and then you start losing control of your body and how the ball goes. And so there's a very tiny, perfect little window where it is good to drink. So you either have to have a party and just sip a little bit all the way through, or early on, just so that you get the nerves off, and then just keep it at that stage. So maybe only a sip every 2 holes or something, because otherwise you lose control.
What's the Dancing with the Stars story?
Oh, well, my mom was a professional dancer, and she had a horrible motorcycle accident when she was dancing, when she was a pro. And she used to entertain during World War II. All the people, the guys had come down for their R&R. And so she was always disappointed that I had to give up dancing for golf, because I was doing dance at the time. And my father's like, no, she's got to concentrate on golf. And so I really never picked it up. And then, so when I came back to Australia, my mom had a stroke, and it was a chance for me to stay home and take care of her and for a few months. And it came up that I could maybe get on Dancing with the Stars, but they were looking for celebrities. And I had said something somewhere along the line when I was down there that it'd be fun to learn to dance for my mom. And so they contacted me, and I went down and they interviewed and see if you can do the normal steps, which obviously I could. And so I signed the contract right away. But the problem was I still had to play on our Legends Tour. So I had to get permission from my sponsors to say, hey, I'm going to take a few months off here to learn how to dance in Australia. And so I had to fly back home here and get them to approve of me taking a few months off and then fly back. So I didn't get as much practice as I would have liked to. And I had a fabulous dance instructor. But when we got to be really good friends, in fact, after we finished dancing, he came over and we did a series around the country club that I had learned.
I just love any form of dance. Like if music comes on, are you like kind of dancing in the car a little bit? Not with your feet, but are you boogieing in the car?
Yeah, there's certain songs I do that with. I kind of feel like Trump, I like this with his. There's a few songs that I just love, but I'm not really a dancer. I guess because I go to bed too early, so I don't go out much.
You love rock and roll. I mean, all of it, and you're involved in the industry. Tell me more about that.
Well, I am because my business manager was a producer at rock concerts. I started because his wife is my partner in the distributorship with their son, and so we got where we would, whenever they came into town, we would take them to play golf. Whenever the rock stars, most of them are all classic old rock stars. And
anybody famous that I know? I mean, start naming some names. Come on.
Mickey Thomas from Starship. We've got Eddie Money. We had Jimmy Jameson. We just had Mike Reno was in town last week. We went to see him. And Eddie and the Cruisers, John Cafferty and Tunes, they came in town and played golf with them and then went to the concert. So we have a legendary Voices of Rock, which is what it's called. And what we do is we get the lead singers from all the old bands, and and then we just bring in And we have our own main band, Stormbringer, that does the backup.
That is cool stuff. That is really cool. Have you ever played golf with any of the presidents, any royals?
I've played with a lot of them. I've played with President Marcos. I actually water skied with President Marcos because he wanted to water ski. He was big into water skiing. So we went out on one of his ships to an island that they owned, and I water skied with him.
Jan, hang on a sec. Help me with something. Who is President Marcos for those that maybe
President
don't
of the
know the world
Philippines?
political
This
scene?
is back in the 70s.
Yeah.
President of the Philippines.
Oh, is this Ferdinand Marcos?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay. Continue.
And then I've played with both George Bushes, and I was good friends with John Sununu, who was chief of staff, and so we played a lot of golf with George Senior and with George W. because I lived in Fort Worth in the summer. So when he was the governor, I played a lot of golf with him.
What's that like? Tell me what that experience is like.
They're like normal people when you play golf with them. They get embarrassed when they hit a bad shot, and they're a lot more relaxed. You know, you can kind of tease them like you do with golf. You know, with golfers, you can give them a bad time if they mishit a shot. You'd never do that off the golf course. I mean, it turns into a different person when they're off the golf course.
Do you turn into a different person or player when you're playing with the president? Are you on your P's and Q's, or it's just another round of golf for you?
No,
I just wonder.
I'm pretty normal. The only time that I'm not normal is when I'm back if I'm in like the Oval Office with them, I'm totally different than when I'm on the golf course with them.
Well, how many times have you been in the Oval Office?
Well, a few times. I actually am surprised I haven't been since Trump has been in, because Trump and I played a lot of golf together in the 70s. And in 80s and 90s, because we stayed friends, but I didn't stay in touch with him since he was the president the first time. So I'm hoping I'm gonna get to see him this time.
And how is his golf?
He's actually a good player. His swing is a little bit round. I'd like to see it a little bit more upright, but he's very powerful. He hits it a long way. And
yeah, he's a big man. I mean, does he hit it properly? Is he compressing the ball? Does he have a good handle on it?
Yeah, no, he's good. I mean, he's by far the best that I've played with.
Okay, all right. Golf course design. I know that's one of your passions, and not just designing any course, but doing it in a proper way that's good for the environment. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you're right. I am. I mean, I was really lucky to intern with Pete Dye, who I think was the first of, except for maybe perhaps, I guess none of the modern ones say they are, but they really aren't worried about the environment and maintenance. And the fact that my foundation owns a golf course, I've learned more and more about how we really should be ashamed of ourselves when we do something that's not in play. But Pete was the one that taught me about trying to save if it rainwater and protecting the environment. He was really into that, about which plants would be better. And then I worked with his son, and now I'm working with Cynthia, his niece, who's really doing a great job on natural. She works with a lot of Native American communities that want a golf course where it doesn't have to have as many chemicals. And I'm really lucky because I'm with a new company. I'm an ambassador to a company now that can add oxygen to the water. So you know how it is in Florida. The reclaimed water is really poor quality and doesn't have parts per million of the right oxygen that it needs to supply the energy to the plants. And so this system can pull the water from your irrigation lake and add and build oxygen, makes oxygen on property like a hospital does, and has a way to be able to infuse it into the irrigation water, add ozone to kill bacteria without any chemicals, and then put it onto the plants. and we're having fantastic results. And now we've just learned how to control the pH, so they don't even have to use any acid to control the pH. So I'm really excited at this new technology.
I'm excited about that too. I mean, as long as it makes the grass green and it's good to the environment and keeps the funguses and all the other stuff away. If there's a better way, this is the way you're saying. Is it just a better way?
It's definitely the better way. I mean, it's expensive to put in at first, which is making it where it's only the high-end clubs that can do it. But we're finding, like at Lake Nona, that they've already, in 2 years, they've made the money back because they haven't had to use as many chemicals. The overseed is taking better, that the roots are stronger, so it doesn't matter about, salt intrusion. So in the end, it's going to be the way to go for everybody.
That's cool. Yeah. Didn't know. I learned something. Tell me this. Did you ever hate golf? I know a lot of competitive golfers. At some point, they burn out on it. The pressure's too much. And I've been there. I mean, I'll admit it. What about you?
Well, I don't know if the word is hate. I hate not being able to hit it like I could and hit the shots that I knew I could hit before. But I work on trying. I'm still after the ultimate golf swing, the perfect golf swing. So I don't think I really hate it because I love to practice. I just don't like not being able to score like I did before or hit it like I could before. But hating, no. In fact, when I first retired from the tour, I would wake up Saturday morning and go, what day is it? And go Saturday and go, oh, I must have missed the cut, and be so depressed and go, wait a minute, I didn't even play today. So didn't even play this week. And I mean, that's how much I loved playing.
Oh, I can just hear it in your voice. It's coming through. I can feel it. All right, Jan, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here toward the end. I really appreciate the time and the conversation. I know you've played in a bazillion pro-ams and you've seen a lot of good golf and a lot of bad golf. If you could give one piece of advice that just works for everybody, that would make a massive difference and it's probably easy to implement, what would it be?
Improve your speed in putting. I actually wasn't as good a putter when I was playing my best as I am now. That's one thing I can say is my putting is better now because I realize how valuable your speed is and learning the speed drills right off the bat. People hate to practice their putting, but if you want to improve your golf game, if you can get every putt 17 inches past the back of the hole, you're going to make a lot of putts, and that you can improve really quickly doing that.
I am so with you on that one. That's actually my advice for people, because your reads are never going to be all that wrong just on the break, but the speed, I mean, it's proximity to the hole. And I've been working on that, and I need more work. You just gave me more reasons to work on that. Jan, I really appreciate the time. Thank you for all you do for golf. All you've done for Part T. Keep us in mind. Just keep everybody thirsty. Thanks for helping out with that, and come on back sometime. Sound like a deal? You're welcome anytime. All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Jan Stephenson has been our guest here. World Golf Hall of Famer, winner of 41 worldwide tournaments, just an ambassador of golf, and just a delight to talk to. For Jan Stephenson, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Part T Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.